Welcome to The Numbers Game. I'm Jason, and today I'm only joined by Marty because we have a special guest jumping in on the episode today. Marty, we're going to dive straight in, mate. How are you, and who do we have joining us today?
Well, I'm thrilled today because we've got a special guest by the name of Spiro Drossos, and he's a true powerhouse of the real estate world in out of East Melbourne, well, not inner East Melbourne, is it, Spiro?
Yeah, East and Northeast, Marty.
East and Northeast, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
I'll give a little bit of a background here. An illustrious career, Spiro, in regards to spanning over 2 decades. Spiro's renowned for his remarkable achievements as a top-tier agent in Melbourne's northeastern and eastern suburbs, as a managing director of the multi-award-winning Barry Plant Eastern Group, including Manningham, Doncaster East, Eltham, Whitehorse in Blackburn and Ivanhoe. Spiro and his team has consistently set new benchmarks, achieving numerous sales records across Victoria. Notably, Spiro has also clinched the prestigious Victorian Salesperson of the Year award from the REIV 3 times, and is a sought-after auctioneer with a long list of successful auction results. He mentors a team of professionals across his team. He's an all-round fantastic guy, always innovative, looking to advance his community, advance his people, and I'm delighted to have him on the Numbers Game podcast. So welcome, Spiro. I hope I've built you up enough, because I feel like there's even more to give here.
Wow, that's impressive, Marty. Impressive.
That's a great background and recap, Marty. I've absolutely loved it. And I guess for our listeners, Spiro, I might open it up by asking, just in your words, as much as Marty's absolutely nailed the professional side of you, tell us a little bit about Spiro, who you are, what you enjoy, and I guess, 20 years as the, managing director at Barry Plant and your business. What got you there and what was the background? Tell us about Spiro.
Yeah, Jason, I've just clicked over this March, 20 years working for Barry Plant.
Congratulations.
So I've only worked thank you, I only worked for the one company over that time, and I started off as a sales guy working for, at the time, Barry Plant was my principal here at the East Doncaster office. So had a great mentor straight off the bat. So I think that really does help. So I had really good inways and really good methods of training from an early age, which was fantastic, learning from someone like Barry leading the way in Australia in sales and auctioneering. So that was a really good start for me. I came from hospitality. I had a hospitality background. I worked for Crown Casino. I worked in pubs and clubs as a young guy. And then I found my way into real estate, and I was in my mid-20s, and I just wanted a career that would reward me for my efforts. I loved working with people. I'd been in hospitality for a long time, and it was a great segue. It really was. I didn't realise it at the time, what the influence of hospitality and all the skills I learnt there that would help me in my early years in real estate. And as you kind of get on and reflect back, and it's those people skills really that are the fundamentals. The property is the byproduct, isn't it? You can learn a property, you can learn about the materials, you can learn about a home and a house, but it's those people skills that became the most valuable asset to me as a young guy coming into the business. I've got 4 kids. I live locally, so busy family at home with my wife, and had the privilege of running the company over the last decade.
You definitely get that sense of hospitality when you're in Spiro's presence, and no matter what he's doing, it's that certainly comes across, which is a nice, unique point of difference, I would say. It's amazing what we learn out of hospitality. I just want to, we're in September 2023, Spiro, so give us an overall view of how your business is finding the property market. Are prices strong? Is supply increasing? Because I know we've been a little bit low on supply. What are you finding from what you're seeing on the ground?
I think it's definitely starting to loosen up. There's no question about it. I mean, we didn't really have a spring last year, and the weather didn't help either. It was really raining all the way to Christmas Day. And given all those interest rate rises we were having last year, there was a real pause on the market. We started to see, more life back in the market as pretty much February, March this year. We started to see some better results coming through, but stock was still very, very tight. We are seeing that loosen up now. I think the fact that, there's a bit more clarity around interest rates, there's more clarity around inflation now, and people are saying, okay, well, there seems to be an end sight to this now. Let's start making some decisions. So there's definitely a lot of people that have held waiting for this time, and they're slowly starting to come on. Now, there's certainly not a huge rush of properties coming on the market, but certainly better than what it was last spring. So we are seeing more relief for buyers this spring.
How are you finding investors as well, Spiro, in regards to, because I know they've been a bit panicked with the interest rate hikes. You seeing still stock coming on the market for investors, or has that slowed down a little bit?
Look, we are certainly seeing stock come on for investors. And that was a very interesting market over the last 12 months. But it just shows us, Melbourne is such a property-centric state, isn't it? I know there's a lot of speculation around the country in relation to properties and what's going on, but Melbourne is so property-centric, and it really is it's an asset that people do invest in. They want to see their asset, and they want to see it grow in capital growth as well. So we've been surprised. We thought we would have had a lot more investors wanting to sell their properties, but it hasn't actually been the case in terms of so many investors coming out and saying, I'm going to sell. There's been a handful that have said, look, I've had enough. Generally, these people are generally over the age of 70. They've got a good nest egg, and they say, I've had enough of the taxes. I've had enough of land tax. Let's just put the property on the market and let's enjoy our life. Let's look after our grandchildren and all the rest of it as well financially. So we're seeing some of those sales come through from our portfolio, but not to what we expected early on when all the changes came through.
You're optimistic that that'll start to continue to flow, though, the weather on the weekend that we just had was blue skies, sunshine. Does it leave you feeling quite optimistic for this upcoming period? And I guess a flow-on question from that is, do you need to scale up or scale back your team depending on what's happening in the market? If sales are down and the market's doing things like the last 12 plus months of inflation and increased rate rises, how's that affected your business from the ability to scale up and scale down?
Oh, look, that's a terrific question in relation to the different markets that do occur. You've always got a core level that you want to stay within, because even in markets that are contracting, you can still build market share within those markets.
Yeah, great.
And that's what we found in terms of, we actually added on through an acquisition quite a lot of salespeople over the last 12 months, and that enabled us to build a lot of market share. Even in a contracting market, we're still able to grow our share. But you do have to monitor that very, very, very carefully in terms of making sure that you've got the right staff levels in place at that time. We're certainly geared enough to tackle this market that's coming through now with more properties. So absolutely optimistic. And it always helps. The weather's better. It's spring. People are generally happier. But because people have held on for such a long time, they will start coming on now. So there'll be a lot more choice out for buyers.
Like, you're looking at a competitive market, obviously, with real estate. One of the questions I have to yourself was, how have you and the Barry Plant Eastern Group set yourself apart in servicing the clients and community? Like, how do you identify that point of difference of you being able to get scale within the available market? What are the features that you guys are doing that really is having an impact?
I always come down to this being a people's business. I often feel that technology can always get in the way of good service as well. I think it's an easy way to touch base with people, but it's not always the most effective. So I think relationships and service, face-to-face, over the telephone, and adding as much value as we can to their current scenario is the best way to get cut through. Even a few months ago, Marty, you were aware of our economic forecast that we ran across the east to inform landlords and prospective purchasers about the current market and what's happening, and really keeping them abreast of the economy and the property. Things like that are extremely valuable, so people get an insight on the ground of what's happening, because often there's a lag time between what we're doing and what the papers or the news do report. So it's great to be able to go straight to ground level and let our consumers know exactly what's happening currently in the marketplace. But really, the personal bespoke approach to a market is the difference versus relying on touch points that add no value.
Do you find that's what's happening out there in the wider market? Like, sometimes I talk to some of the younger operators in sales, and exceptional people, exceptional what they do. But you're right, sometimes you can hide behind tech. So it's really important, I think, as a foundation piece to develop that personal relationship with someone, because that could be a 15-year client. And I think that's what's lost a lot of the time if you go straight in on the tech angle from the beginning. I think that's always been, the bread and butter of great relationships and adding value. I think, I hope we don't lose that ever.
Yeah, I agree, Marty. I agree 100% on that. There's certainly a space for tech. There's no question
Definitely.
about it. It can really make our job easier, especially on the marketing side, especially on the cold data or warm data. But when it comes to database and when it comes to people that are in the market, you do need to provide that personal touch because it is hard to beat. There's no question about it. A text versus a phone call or a meeting or face to face, you can't beat that, and it is getting in the way. And when you look at technology today and you look at social media, it's very busy. I mean, how do you break through those feeds?
Yeah.
There is so much coming through that gets refreshed. You see the old local paper, if you thought about it, you'd flick through the paper, it was there all week, there was presence there. So it was very easy to get cut through in terms of your brand awareness. But today you've got to adopt a multi-platform technology stack to be able to reach an audience. And then are you really reaching them with all the noise that's happening in everyone's feeds every single day? And that's why you can't beat that relationship of your database and so I think the people that own their databases, the agents that own their database, will also win their markets.
It's a really good point because, again, your depth of relationship and your ability to relate to people is now a point of difference in that world of that is distracted. So I think, again, like I think about even in the early days in mortgage broking, a lot of the business came from circles of influence that you were already operating in, whether it was business or not. And I think that and that was always that nowadays you see people wanting to get to the result in a quicker way. And like you said, there's definitely that ability on the back office side and the marketing to do that and use tech to advantage. No doubt about that. But again, if you have that relationship and there's a likability and also a capability that links in with the person, then you've got that, you've got that relationship for the next 10, 15 years. So it's invaluable, and we have to continue to honor that. I think it's so important. It's a great point.
So, Spiro, we touched on like how important the people doing business with people aspect is. So I'm interested then from your point of view, what is the difference between, your mediocre salespeople that have come and gone from the business compared to your best of the best, in your sales team? Who are the high performers in a sense? Like, what are their attitudes? What are their behaviors and actions? And how do they kind of stay at the top of their game ongoing through time?
There's a distinct advantage, in the agents that I've coached over the years. Getting people from 100,000 GCI right through to over 2 million and 3 million in GCI. There's unique attributes that they have, and it's consistent. And I will start off with what we have just been speaking about in terms of staying very people focused.
Yep.
Right. I'll come back to that in a moment. But there's a lot of structure and discipline in their day. So they really control the day. They don't allow the day to control them. So they finish the day off and they've already written up the plan for the next day. They all win the morning. Right. So they all win the morning. So the top performers, they're up, they're exercising, they're not getting their body right, they're getting their mind right as well. They've got their goals or affirmations. They know why they're there for the day, and they've got all their appointments set up in a structured block throughout a week. So they'll do, for examples, they'll time block. They'll do market appraisals in a time block. They'll do vendor management in a time block. They'll service buyers in a time block. So they're very, very structured and don't allow too many of the outside influences to get in their day.
Yep.
And as they progress through their career, they do set up what we refer to as an effective business unit or a pod or super team structure where they do have assistants or buyers agents and administrations teams within their own unit, functioning almost as an office within an office.
Yeah, wow.
And that gives them the scale and leverage to move from 1 million to 2 million to 3 million in GCI.
Do they love negotiating? Because some agents I've seen that have fallen away always were concerned about the negotiation process. But have they had an element of high skill in that, or so that's just something developed over time?
Well, we train a lot on negotiations and how to handle offers and how to handle buyers. But mate, I'll come back to negotiating, and it's fundamentally the way we look at that is really service orientated. I think if you've got a good relationship with your buyer, you service them effectively, and you've got trust with them, the negotiation's 95% complete. It's only the hard ones when you don't have that relationship where you do need to use a lot of skills and need to be great negotiators to bring that offer to the forefront. But one of our biggest elements is build a relationship with your buyers. Ensure you know them. Know their family structure, know why they're moving, and really get into their zone to be able to get the best offers you possibly can to ensure they buy the property. So good agents understand that. So if they're a strong listing agent who deal a lot in the listing side and the open for inspections and negotiations, if they've got a buyer's agent within their team, it takes a lot of pressure off, allows them to bring the buyer to the forefront, where then a senior person can move into the negotiation only if needed. But in our business, most of our buyers agents conduct a lot of the negotiations as well because they're very experienced.
Again, depth of relationship and depth of knowledge in that relationship to what the drivers are. And again, there's always a meeting point where, the buyer and the vendor have that happy place where the deal happens. So, yeah. But again, it's coming from the right intention. It's a great answer. And I think that answer will actually help a lot of real estate agents that listen in as well. Just to get to that next level, like you said, at that elite performance. So thank you for that. And you do have a number of high performing sales agents in the business. Is it challenging to manage those people at any level? And how do you retain great teams to keep them connected? Because again, sometimes in some businesses out there, you find the high performing type people will go off. They think they can do it better themselves or somewhere else. How do you harness that, Spiro? Because I think that's a superpower for business owners to listen to.
It's such an important part. If a principal wants to grow a business significantly and scale up, you do have to get that part right. The first part to it is create an environment that they want to be part of, first and foremost. So create an environment with a lot of learning, plenty of training, structured sales meetings, and providing all the resources they need to ensure they can prosper. Now, that's fundamentally the first part. Provide an environment they're inspired by and want to be part of. So the culture is really important to ensure that that's 100% fixed, and that's what we're working towards. Our values are right, and we hire to those values. Now, the second part to that is there's two ways. You recruit externally into the business is one way, and also to train people up through the ranks as associates, coming through as junior agents, and senior agents. So the people you train from a young age coming through, they're built into your model. So they understand your culture, they understand the way that you work. So they come through knowing how to operate within the business. The agents that you bring on externally from other companies that have seen value in joining, then you've got to work very closely with them initially to ensure that they understand what they are, what the culture is like within the office, and ensure and guide them and help them. It's not a set and forget. It's not the standards that you accept do become your culture. And for the growth of our business, it's all been about our people, that we've been able to create an environment where these people can harness their talents and grow. So you've got to be really clear and continue to work with them. And they might make a mistake along the way, or they might go back into how they used to do it at their past agency. It doesn't make them a bad agent. You just got to bring them back on, have a conversation with them and say, hey, this is the way we do it here, and these are the reasons why we do it here. And they come along. Now, we integrated, over 100 people into our company last year. And that was had its challenges, but also when I look back, it was a great process because we knew how we operated, and we needed to get the new team in how we did things.
Did you see that as a big test of the strength of your culture, of the existing team, and how they were able to, I guess, blend with the new acquisition?
Absolutely. We could see the benefits of the acquisition and or merger. So the existing team can certainly see the benefits. The team that came into our culture could also see the benefits as well. So together, we worked very, very hard to ensure that everyone felt comfortable in that process and worked through everything together. And really, by month 3, it really felt like we'd been together for years.
How much of that was strong communication up front, like laying out the plan and letting everyone know why it was important, what the message was? Was there a fair bit of thought and process that went into it? And I guess, how deeply involved were you?
The comm strategy was vital, and I was there from the start in its implementation right through to the execution. The
Awesome.
communication to our team, the communication to their team. Then when we were blended, the communication on an ongoing basis. Whether it be 24 hour, 48 hours, then it went out to weekly and fortnightly and so forth. But it's all about ensuring that everyone felt comfortable and we're in the right positions and we could work with them, because you can imagine what goes through people's heads at that point for both teams. But the key was just to ensure they felt safe with what's going on and then work through each step with them. Just on that, a good leadership team is vital. So outside of myself, having really strong leaders, in director's role or partner's role or team leader's role or department heads, and ensuring that they're the right people in the right positions to also administer that communication right through the company is vital. So communication was a huge factor in this working.
Acquisition from the numbers perspective, again, can always seem appetizing. But again, it can cause a lot of disruption if it's not handled well. So that was really well answered for anyone looking to bring on a new business to their own business. It's not a bolt-on, it's a total integration of the culture. And like you said, allowing people to feel safe and to bring them in so they can prosper. And I love the idea of what you said. One of my questions was going to be, did you have a project management team that handled it? Because I think if you didn't give it the attention it deserved, it could fall apart pretty quickly, which you answered so beautifully. So I think that's something for anyone looking to do something like that. Make sure you have strength of leaders, you have a plan from, first engagement all the way through to acquisition, and then integration off the back end once it's happened. Because again, it's testament that 3 months is I think is a really short time frame for people to feel that way. But obviously you've done that so well. I think that's sometimes that can take 6 to 12 months, sometimes to 2 years. So you've obviously really had a great plan around it. There's a tremendous insights, really.
Spiro, I have an accounting firm, and a lot of the time we turn to team training and, it's the latest tax update or, things like that. I'm interested from your perspective, with your team and the business over the years, what's been a particular activity, training, or strategy around your team that has helped them to continue to develop and perform the best they can? Is there some kind of secret sauce that you've had over the years?
When it comes to training, we've done everything from the conferences to in-house and so forth, and we're regular trainers, and we do train a lot every single week. What's had the best cut through is just ensuring that the training delivered is suitable for the group that you're training.
Yep.
So a group session's terrific. I think it's great for a young assistant that's joined us and been with us for a year to be sitting next to a $3 million rider in the same room. I think there's a lot you can take also just from that connection and networking that they can do, especially if you run multiple offices and they can all congregate once a week and actually have a bit of a chat about a certain issue. I think that's terrific. However, to be able to break it up and say, look, I've got riders that are doing 2 and 3 millions, that they need specific form of training for where they are now. They need different training to the emerging agents that are coming through, who need different training to the assistants or associates that are in the company. So my best advice would be to really categorize the training suitable for those groups. My head of sales does a tremendous job with the young agents in our company. Every second week, he takes them out for breakfast and runs a training session with the young agents. And they love just interacting with each other, because if you think about it, they might be working across 4 regions in 4 different offices, but they're all facing similar challenges. They're all doing the callbacks on a Monday. They're all meeting people. The markets change at different times. We need different skill sets, but they're all facing the same challenges in their roles. So for them to integrate and to talk about that on a fortnightly basis works really well. So that's just one example of really tailoring that training to get the best out of the people in their positions. And then when you do that, you know the time it comes for then to move that particular person to the next phase of their career, which I think is often missed in businesses, that we leave people in their positions for too long. They get disheartened and then they could potentially leave.
Yep.
But if you've got a career path for them, you don't miss it in this training.
Couldn't agree more. I think sometimes getting stagnant in the role and not really recognizing when is the logical next step for someone to move up. So that tailored and segmented training approach makes a lot of sense. And I think just listening to your talk, it sounds like those young agents would get a really good connection with each other, which gives them support to be able to lean on each other and, share ideas, what's working, what's not working. And
Absolutely.
I guess then look up to other mentors like agents writing 2 or 3 million. So I think that's great to provide that connection.
And the other thing to that with that connection is that, they'll come through together. So they'll get from junior agent to senior. So they'll build really good camaraderie, which is really nice too. So they can bounce off each other. But the other part to this training that, I've realized is very valuable is that you often find people that are better placed in different positions.
Yep.
Like you uncover skill sets they have and you think, hey, have you considered this? So we've been able to sidestep or move people into better roles within the company because we've identified it during this training, getting to know them better.
Yeah, so basically getting people to be in the positions that suits them the best based on their skill set and I guess their drive and aspirations. And it makes a lot of sense.
Such a great point again, because so often as business owners, you think about what that person is doing for the business in the place they're at. So there's a fluency in your thinking and your operating and understanding people coming through and honouring those skill sets as well. So that means there's always a good flow of new people coming through to fill those gaps. But sometimes in small business, people go, I know that person's going to be a great broker in 18 months' time, but we really need them here at the moment. And you could lose them if you're not. And we do have formulated plans for people because of understanding that probably 4 or 5 years ago. So it's a really great way to sort of have that tapestry of going what works for everyone. So yeah, really like that. A lot of great stuff. Now, Spiro, I have to put it back on you in regards to as business owners. We're switched on 24/7. You got 4 kids. Lara's wonderful. I've met Lara. So hello to Lara out there and the kids. But how do you maintain a healthy life and family life balance, given that, you live, breathe business as well as family, because family is so important. So yeah, any insights there?
Oh, it certainly is. You definitely need that balance. You need that time to switch off. Really important. And just like we did in sales with our routines, you've got to find your routine of what works for you as a leader. With leadership, obviously, it's all about people and getting the best out of people. So you're talking to the guys all the time, all day, every day. So you need that time to switch off. I found with my time, it's what you say no to is really important. You've got to assess, can someone else handle it? Can it be delegated? Am I the right person to be handling it? And you want to give everybody your attention at all times, but it's just not possible. So you've got to have the people in place within the organization to handle those first line of questions.
Yeah.
To ensure that they're skilled enough to handle. It's like our head of sales, Marty's a fabulous guy. His name's Marty as well. The sales guys love him and will go to him for all the things they need. If it comes to meet specific, I might know the client or if there's a strategy in place that I could offer. But that allows me a bit more time on strategy development, growth and so forth now in the company and recruitment. But getting away from that is you've just got to set your boundaries, because it's a business that it'll take whatever we give it.
Yeah.
So if we'll give it 15 hours, it'll take it. So you've got to be really disciplined to say, hey, at this particular time, I'm not going to do that. So for example, on a Wednesday at 4:30, it's Isabella's basketball game. I'm not going to miss it. She wants me there. I'm going to be there for an hour. My business isn't going to collapse. There's a lot more important things going on in the world than me being in the office for an hour. So it's those types of things to set out and say, okay, this is, what are my big rocks? What are they? Make sure that I've got them first and everything else works itself out through there. And I've done a lot of work around this over the years to get it right. I don't know if you ever get it right. I think you can only try to get it right.
question I was going to ask you, Spiro, is how long did it take, or, are you still trying to perfect it? And the ability to say no. So I'd put my hand up straight away and go, that is probably one of the number one things I need to work on, as our business continues to grow. I'm terrible at it. I'm a yes guy. I just want to help everyone. I want to please everyone. I'll say yes. What allowed you to develop that sense of ability to be able to say no? Was there a tipping point where you burnt yourself out from saying yes too much, or what was it on your end that has got you to here?
I was just juggling too much. There was too much going on. So, you're doing everything for everyone. So you're operating pretty much at 30% for everybody versus actually working out in the business, what's your biggest asset?
Yep.
What will drive the business further with the skill set that you've got? Mm-hmm. And I think it's a real point for agents, and I think it's really hard because we're salespeople that come through. We get an opportunity to buy a business, and we carry through the sales approach through our career as directors. But a leadership role is completely different to a sales role. So you've got to work out what it really is that's going to drive the business forward. What's your key skill set, and then hire, if you can, the other roles to fulfill it. I'll give you an example. I've got 38 agents here. I can also list and sell real estate as well, and I think I can do a pretty good job at it, right? But I've also got 38 agents that can do the same thing.
Yeah.
So I've got a choice of whether I go in and write $2 million in fees, or whether I go out and recruit $20 million worth of fees.
Yeah.
Can you see the difference?
Yeah.
Where's my best value in the company, or strategy and growth? And we've seen that in the last couple of years. So there is a tipping point. It's generally burnout. It's generally juggling too many things and not being there for the people that need you, because the worst thing is they're coming to see you and you're on your phone or texting someone else and you're not giving them the time they need.
Yeah.
So any advice to transitioning principals out there, or any business owners, is really to look at your key skill set, and really, the leadership role is different to the sales role.
Which I think that's fantastic advice, Spiro. So that actually makes it much easier to learn what to say yes and what to say no to based on what's your lane, what lane should you be sticking in, and I guess, force some habit or force some strictness around, not saying yes to the things that's not the lane that you're meant to be playing in.
And it's okay to say, look, that's a great, he'll handle it. Marty will handle that question for you. Go see Marty, or marketing's got that covered. Go see marketing, instead of you sitting down and doing the whole marketing plan with them for an hour, when your role is actually something else within the company. So I think those strict guidelines, and also the communication piece to the company of who reports where, so people know.
Yeah. Even with that, I go, it's really resonating listening to Spiro, because that's one of my challenges in my early 30s into mid 30s. I go, at the end of the day, no use having a great business and no one at home to celebrate it with, right? So, and that happens to a lot of business owners that I've seen, that they're not managing that time more effectively. And, 100% of a grape is still a lot smaller than 50% of a watermelon. And you go, that delegation piece. And I think, again, the ability, like how much work I think about I had to put in to those leadership skills to be able to delegate, because I felt almost a sense of guilt of not doing everything, right? So even getting over that obligation piece, and then realizing it's actually a strength to delegate and to plan and to expand from that point. But it's all growth. Like, it's all awareness, growth, and then finding people around you that are doing it, and or training yourself in various ways to be able to. And like Spiro says, I certainly still don't think I always get it 100% right, but it's you're always improving. And that's the great thing about business. That's what I enjoy about business, is the people and the improvement, what you learn, and implementing those improvements. It's so invaluable.
There's a great quote, and every new level of your business requires a new you.
Yeah.
For me, that quote's always resonated with me, in terms of, every time we grow or we're scaling up, I can't bring the Spiro in from last year into this year. I can't bring him in. I've got to recreate myself, and where am my best value within the company this year, now that we've got, for example, 4 locations, not 2. The other companies also need time. So what does that look like with the existing executive team? So it's a great quote. What version are you bringing at what stage of your company?
So I guess, Spiro, I'd love to know or get some insight then on what's been one of the greatest or biggest challenges, business or personal life that you've had to deal with, and how'd you get through it?
Look, I suppose the acquisition last year was quite a big challenge to
Yeah.
to integrate over 100 people into the company.
That's crazy.
Was certainly challenging, but also very, very rewarding.
Yep.
I think one of the biggest challenges, Jason, is definitely moving from a salesperson to a director.
Yep.
I think that's a really big challenge in terms of the mindset shift from being a business owner to a salesperson. To be able to look at, what are your wealth creation strategies? What are your wealth creation strategies for the people that are working with you? Being in charge of a lot of people instead of being charged just with yourself and your assistant.
Yep.
And then to be able to balance that with your home life at the same time, like what Marty said. And we've got a saying in our leadership team, we don't want our gravestones to say, we were the best real estate agents.
Yeah.
Far from it. We had a great business. We got a great family, kids, healthy and all the rest of it. So for us, that's really, really important that we're really grounded. Most of our directors here have got young kids that are coming, so they've got their challenges too. So it's been able to really make that transition from sales to a business owner. And when you can make that effectively, it does change a lot of things.
Which, it's such a perfect and great point for people to think about who are out there, whether it's, in sales as a real estate agent or any kind of job they're working in where they're going to transition to business owner. It's a very big difference being the business owner versus being the key person working in a particular role. So I think, you've hit the nail on the head of what is one of the biggest challenges. And we see it time and time again where someone becomes the business owner, but they were a really good technician or a really good salesperson, and they didn't necessarily work on or develop the skills to become a leader or to become a business owner. So, yeah, you nailed it perfectly.
Yeah, and the ego gets in the way. Like at the beginning, when you're a really top salesperson, you're going, oh, I'm going to put that person on. They're only ever going to be 70% of what I am, so I might as well do it myself. And it's the biggest transition for a salesperson to make, but it's no different. You start a business, you're a salesperson, and then the next big step, and the big, like people see it as risk, is that next phase of actually hiring someone and starting to build out that team. And it does take skills and awareness and being in the trenches, but it's a whole, Spiro's so right, whole different set of skill sets. It really is.
And you've got to work out, why you're doing it as well. Obviously, anyone in our industry, loves working with people and loves the industry itself. But then you want to be able to create something that's bankable. You want to create something, that of your hard work you've paid off over the years. And, there's certain ways that we can do that with outside of investing outside of what we do. It's also, where's the value of our business? What does that look like? And the value of our business isn't in the transactional side.
Yep.
The value of our business obviously is on the bankable side of property management.
Yep.
So, to be able to build your business in a way where it's not reliant on you, so it does become bankable and someone can, in the future down the track, if you did want to sell it, there is significant value in that business. And I think a lot of people forget about that because they're caught up in the commission after commission after commission, not thinking about, hey, what does it look like in 15 or 20 years when I retire?
That big picture stuff,
Such a good point. Spiro, one more question for you. Can you share, you've shared so much advice, I feel like it's almost bad to ask you this question, but one piece of advice that has made a positive impact on your life or the business you could share with our listeners. So if you could put it on a billboard and you go, this has been the game changer for me, that you could share, that'd be great.
There's two things, right? The one thing is learning and self-development. I think you've got to be a better you month on month, year on year. So you can't stop learning in our business. You've got to be able to change and innovate, and you can only do that from learning and learning from people outside the industry as well. Attending the conferences or attending or reading books or whatever or podcasts or what have you, but just learn as much as you can And that's how I did it in my early years, in particular when I first started out, and then I went to a next level. But I'm continuously learning. I'm continuously reading and trying to source different ways that we can become a better company to our communities.
Yep. I love it.
Great.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is, it's the first thing that I wrote when I took over this business, was that this business is not to be reliant on me from a generating perspective.
Two fantastic bits of advice. Sorry, Marty.
I was just going to say too, Spiro, if people want to connect with you in the business, where's the best place to find you? On LinkedIn?
Yeah, they can find me. They can find me on LinkedIn. They can email me. All my details are on our website, berryplant.com.au, and they're welcome to shoot me through an email or give me a call.
So much great advice there, Jay. So, like, even taking it into your own businesses, and I can only imagine the listeners out there. We have a lot of agents that do listen to the podcast. How much value they would have taken away of this discussion. So I really appreciate your time, Spiro. Glad you didn't say no. We've got a good enough relationship that we got the green tick. So I'm
great to be part of it.
That.
Great to be part of it.
Yeah, thank you for your support to innovate, and and we really appreciate that.
Definitely agree with you, Marty. And I think from my end, I always think about things. Am I going to go back and re-listen again? And there's been a few of these interview style podcasts on the Numbers Game where I wasn't part of the interview, and I listened to it 2 or 3 times. And I know, Spiro, even though I was in this conversation, I've already been trying to take down notes of things that you've said. Couldn't keep up in time because I also had a job to do for a change. So I know this is one that I'll listen back to grab those nuggets of gold, which I'm super appreciative of your time, and thank you for sharing, Spiro. So I do recommend to our audience, connect with Spiro, follow, share the show. Always trying to share gold with our listeners to help them progress in their life. And we thank you for joining and thank you for listening. And until next time.
Thank you, Spiro.
Thanks for having us.
Game over.